Hello and welcome to the Main Straight Podcast, the official F1 in Schools podcast. My name is Tom Deacon and I am your host. And I have to say, welcome back to another episode. It's great that you can come and join us. And I'm so glad that you've returned to find out more about this fantastic STEM competition. Can I just take this opportunity to thank you for your continued support on all of our socials, which you can find at F1 in Schools HQ. And it's just lovely to read your comments. So please keep sending that to us, or them, should I say. I will be mentioning a bit more about our socials later on and those that have retweeted some of the posts that we've had, because we've had some big names. I won't give away who they are yet, but that will happen on the news section of this podcast, which is towards the end. Now, if you've never joined a podcast before, and this show, we welcome guests on, and this is a first. We are going to have six guests on this episode today. I know it sounds like it's not going to work, but I'm pretty sure, because this team works beautifully together. So I have no doubt that they will be fantastic guests today. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome the F1 in Schools World Champions from 2022. It is Team Hydron. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the podcast. I'll start by saying, do you still feel like champions? I mean, you are currently the reigning champions. Do you still walk proudly knowing this fact?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a while now, like you said, but every now and then just something will happen. We'll walk past, the car on display around school, and it's a nice little reminder.
Yeah, definitely. And what a day it was, because almost a year ago now, that was the first time I met you guys, and you definitely made an impact on me. I have to say this, from chatting to all of the teams, and I mean, obviously there's a buzz, there's an energy of a world final. I met you for the first race, session 1. And then when you came back for session 2, now this doesn't work for a podcast, but next to me, I still have in front of me, in my hands right now, you framed a picture of us meeting for the first time. And what I love more than anything, Will, is that you signed it. The only person of the team to sign this. But I took it because I was just wowed by you as a team. You looked resplendent, you had your chinos, you had a clear team identity, but you left a mark. And by going on to win and become champions of the world, I mean, did you ever dream if that would happen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's sort of, I think, a universal experience across, the whole competition, really. I know Alex, you might want to talk about a bit, but he's been competing for 4 years now, and, seeing old photos of him, he's just a little kid when he sort of started, and to finally get there, I'm sure, was a big moment for him.
Yeah, certainly. When we were in development class in Australia, and looking up to the people from our school, teams from our school who were going to Worlds, they just seemed a world away. We raised, I think, $400 in our first competition, and now we're raising 100 times that. So it's definitely something that's really amazing to have even just gone to Worlds, but more than that, just having won Worlds.
Yeah. I mean, so many people know or are beginning their journey in F1 in Schools. It's a journey, and to see the progression, because I believe it's 3 years that you've been together as a team, national finalists, you won best engineered car, fastest car, and world champions. I mean, I guess you have to believe that you can win it, right? When you get into a competition, you have to have that confidence.
Yeah, look, absolutely. You sort of, everyone's there for the same reason, right? You're all there to chase the victory. You're all trying to design the fastest car, put together the best portfolios. It's definitely a challenge, I think, in world finals to keep motivated and keep those goals in mind, especially over COVID and sort of that distance learning that was there for a while. But yeah, you definitely stay focused, stay driven, and yeah, you chase the main goal really at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right. So let's set that scene, because I know it has been almost a year since World Finals, but what was going through your mind? I mean, the sponsorship to get there. You've just mentioned, Alex was talking about how you've got to get that sponsorship to get across. But what was it like? What was going through your minds when you arrived at Silverstone? I mean, the iconic Silverstone. What was going through your heads?
Yeah, look, well, Ben Noonan was sort of probably the biggest contributor, especially on terms of that sponsorship side to get us there. So he might want to talk a bit about that.
Yeah, sure thing. Particularly going to a world finals, jumping from a national finals, which has always been held in our home state. Victoria, we went, like Alex said, from little tiny budgets to having to raise flights for the 6 of us plus staff all the way to UK, hotels, and all that. So we were really lucky to have great corporate backing from about 17 sponsors. But that was really the process of over the 3-year journey, really building up that capital and relationship capital, really. And like you said, Tom, landing in the UK kind of just made it really real for all of us. Like Alex and Will have both said so far, we never really thought that we could make to the world finals when we joined the competition. We just liked engineering or marketing or like project management, and the world finalists seemed like such a different competition. So getting there and then meeting all the other teams was such a cool experience, and I think something that we'll all remember for the rest of our lives.
This is the point, Ben, where I ask you, I mean, as a guest team leader, how did you keep everyone in check? I mean, what is the secret to sustaining that? You know, you have that drive, you have that passion, but how do you control it, especially in a world final?
Yeah, well, I think what really drove all of us is we were a really tight group. Some of us, 4 of us, me, Alex, Tim, and Andy, have been competing in the same team ever since Hydron was formed, and we got new additions, Alastair and Will, later on. But I think what really bonded us was the kind of the great respect that we had for each other's specialties. I did a lot of our enterprise work, and I couldn't tell you anything about our car. And yet I had full trust in our engineering team, Alex, Al, and Andy. That they knew worlds more than me. And I think that respect and that drive and that passion for each of our individual fields kind of kept us going, because that's what got us into the competition in the first place, was that interest in those specific fields. And so getting to do that at such a high level, I think really motivated us all the way up until the end.
Just to have that confidence in your teammates and not trying take control and help, step in. I guess that having those clear lanes of this is what our job is, and giving them the support if they need it. I mean, that seems to be a fantastic way of tackling a competition. What was it that these teammates brought, Ben? Like you said, Will came on board. I mean, apart from the signed autograph photo that I have, what did he bring to the team that you thought, yeah, we need that?
Yeah, so Will joined us right before our second state final. And he joined us from a team, and we'd seen his work, and we knew we wanted that work. So his kind of specialty going into the world finals was project management. So he kept us going. He did all of our risk and finance management, and kind of all those communication channels. But moreover, I think he contributed a lot more. He managed stuff like our pit display, and kind of was the team fixer. If there was a project that one of us wasn't covering, Will was onto it. And so he was kind of the all-rounder in the team. That's what made him such a great team principal.
That's incredible. So you all got star players on the team, to coin a phrase that probably doesn't work for F1 in schools, but basically each of you has a talent. You have that skill. You mentioned Tim there. What was Tim's role in the team?
Yeah, well, Tim, do you want to speak on that perhaps?
Yeah, so I was in charge of manufacturing the car. So once Alex, Andy, and Alastair had finished up with their designing or prototyping, it was off to me to, get it through the manufacturing process, which was a pretty long process for us in Worlds, given we had a lot of a long prototyping period, so I was making and testing early prototypes while they were working on later prototypes, and that cycle continued right up until the final cars, which sort of like, by that point we'd sort of refined the process, and it was tight, but the process was completed in the end. So
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be something, while on that subject of manufacturing the car, so many teams, they think, well, we've done the best we can, but it seems like your process, even though it came to no, I'm not saying the wire, but it definitely pushed you because of that process to refine. And that's what engineering is all about. You just get the perfect, piece at the end of it. Is that maybe the secret to your success of having the fastest car, just all of that development?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think you're not really an F1 in schools team unless you're submitting on the very deadline. So, so it's important to remember that it's a process for everybody, and
working together between the manufacturing and engineering was the best possible way for actually completing the cars. And I think that definitely helped to make a really solid design and eventually get us fastest car.
Okay. Well, listen, guys, I mean, just great stuff. I know people listening right now will be like, I need to know the secret. I need to know what is the difference. I mean, we're talking there about there's so much work involved in F1 in schools. And I know for a fact that you were so resilient in the build-up because you had to balance your final years of school and the demanding requirements of the competition and put it all together. But Will, since winning and being world champs, and I won't get bored of saying that, how's life changed for you?
Yeah, look, I mean, it opens up a lot of opportunities for sure. I mean, obviously there's the UCL opportunity for next year. So for me, that's something that's changed, sort of how I look forwards a little bit. And it's definitely shaped, I think, after the fact, all the experience I've gotten, what I want to do. Engineering wasn't really something that I'd considered pre-F1 in schools. But having done the competition and, taken it so far, been around such great people like Gal and Andy, it's inspired me a lot, I think, to pursue something like that. I think for Alex and Tim, particularly Alex, he's sort of involved in, engineering projects. And I think F1's probably something that's helped him a lot after the fact, coming back from that world finals with that experience. He might want to speak to that.
Yeah, certainly. I think more so than even winning world finals, it's just the whole process of F1 in schools in itself, getting to collaborate with industry, getting to visit their testing research facilities, getting to see what they do. That's sort of just, it allowed me a more in-depth understanding of the engineering world out there. So that's definitely raised my interests in the engineering field.
And I suppose it's sort of targeted a bit more of an area that you think to yourself, that's the area I want to be. Whereas at the beginning, say before the F1 in schools competition, you would have think, I want to do engineering, but I don't know which particular type. Is that right?
Yeah, most certainly. So we had many sponsors, big, small. Ford Australia, of course, was one of the major sponsors with the major companies. We got to collaborate with them and visit one of their research and development facilities, and also collaborate with their engineers. And that's really interesting, getting to see what they do. But we also have a lot of other smaller companies that we also got insight into what they did. And it's certainly a big world out there in terms of engineering. So I'm hopeful in the sense that there is a lot on offer.
Guys, I mean, I know there's still some teammates that haven't spoken just yet. I mean, I really want to know, what advice would you give? Because I'm getting an understanding that collaboration, as Alex mentions, gives you that opportunity to understand where you want to go and take F1 in schools and your own personal lives and your development. But in terms of what advice you would give to any teams that are getting ready for a world final, which is going to be in Singapore this year, can you break it down? What advice, or maybe 3 pieces of advice, or just those nuggets that will help them?
Yeah, look, it's hard to sort of, articulate it in 3 points. For me, I think the primary thing is just to really want it. You got to sort of have that hunger about you, I think. And I think throughout the whole competition, that's sort of what drove us. It's like there are times where, you could sort of stop and take your foot off the gas, but you just got to push extra hard. You got to really know what you want and, work hard for it. Like there was a time me and Tim were about to post off the cars. We'd put them in the boxes. They're ready to go. And we thought there might be a tiny little problem with one of the wheels not spinning properly. And we were sort of like, we could just send them off. But we end up taking them out, fixing them up. Couple hours. Sure enough, we got them off to the courier just in time. Andy might have something to say sort of from that engineering side of things, if he's got a golden nugget to share.
In terms of engineering, I would probably say the biggest advice I would give is probably to break down everything as much as you can. Like, zoom out and try and break down everything to see how much everything affects like performance, and try to approach it from there. So always try and zoom out and see how what you were finding how it actually affects the car, and see how you can basically improve on any aspect of the engineering side for me.
Okay, and Alastair, I know we haven't spoken to you yet. Al, is there anything that you have reflected on and thought, if we hadn't have done that, then I don't think we would be champions right now?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I mean, along our process, like just trying out lots of different little things along the way, not all of them coming to fruition, just like giving them a go. Um, I know one like major innovation that was Andy's was in our aerodynamics. In our package, it was a little bit unusual with our nose. But yeah, that was a big innovation from Andy, and I'm sure he could talk more on that. But yeah, there's lots of little details that I think really just step it up a little bit further. Yeah.
Al, were you ever afraid to make mistakes? That's something I'm curious with teams. Some teams are like, we just want to get it right first time. Is that something that ever crossed your mind?
Well, I would say yes, it has crossed my mind, but I would say don't be afraid to like make a mistake and give it a go and like not do well. I know in like my personal journey in F1 in schools, like I started off later than the rest of the team in a different team as well. And in our first competition, we came last. And in our second competition, our car broke a reg, and that kind of threw us out of the running as well in that. But yeah, just give it a go. You'll learn from your mistakes. Yeah, I won't be making those mistakes again. And yeah, even if you don't win the competition or anything, there's definitely a lot of learning to be had along the way. So yeah.
I mean, I don't want to take what you've just said and be rude in any way, shape or form. But when you see, we heard earlier that Will, as a team, that they'd seen Will's work and thought, yeah, we want a bit of that. You're coming into it from a team that finished dead last in a competition. You put all of that effort and time. What did the team want in you? And maybe you didn't even see yourself. This car team, we finished last, but you had something to offer, surely, Al.
I'd hope so. And I appreciate the rest of the team's faith in me. But yeah, I think I'm not sure. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but yeah, I just appreciate the rest of the team. Yeah.
Ben, I mean, you were team leader. You're looking at another competitor, another team, and that's what F1 in schools is all about, is that interaction, networking, talking to other teams. Al mentioned there, I finished dead last with his team, and I promise I won't keep mentioning that. But he finishes in this position, which he obviously knows there's things he wants to change and improve on. But you saw something in Al, and I think that's the message I want to get across to any team or whatever you do in your results. You've learned so much, and that you can be an asset to another team.
Yeah, that's right. Alan might not be able to put his finger on what we wanted, but I think the rest of us certainly can. He's kind of known as like the physics genius within our team. He may also be an F1 in schools champion, but he's about to go off to Mongolia to represent Australia in physics. So we're pretty lucky. And so he was kind of the mastermind behind a lot of our physics prototyping, along with Alex and Andy. So I think we saw that potential, and kind of just Alastair's attention to detail, which I think would be another golden nugget that our team really learned to and cherish as we went along in the competition. Was that attention to detail in each and every single competition aspect, whether that's portfolios or car renders or the trade display or verbal presentation. Putting enough time, particularly in terms of how many points each of them allocated into each of them, and not just focusing on the cars and the portfolios, but every single aspect of the competition, I think really helped us in the end. And those colleagues in Al, I think, really helped us out in the end.
Well, you're an incredibly resilient team, and the fact that Al brings that resilience and an expert in physics, I absolutely love it, how you've all come together to be this unique team and a very, very successful team at that. Just a couple of final questions to you guys. Everyone wants to know, after you've won a competition, what do you go on to do? You were at Silverstone, you got part of the Grand Prix there, which was incredible. And then on your home soil, and Formula One fans had waited what seemed like ages to have an Australian Grand Prix. You were there, presented a trophy by Sir Jackie Stewart, the legend of F1 and motorsport. What was that like? Will, I mean, as a fan of F1, it must have been incredible.
Yeah, look, that whole experience was really surreal. I'd never had the opportunity actually to go to an F1 event. And so to get to go down there was just crazy. We were in the paddock most of the day, and, you'd just be walking by and a driver would just pass, Danny Rick or someone. It was just a great experience. And like you mentioned, getting to go up on the podium with Sir Jackie Stewart, it was a real honor. There was a crowd up there. I don't think they were too aware of what was going on, but they gave us an applause, and the national anthem played. It was a really special moment for all of us. I know, standing up on the podium again. I got to meet Gunther Steiner, who's sort of my F1 idol. So that was a highlight for me personally of the day, but it's a really cool experience. Yeah.
May I ask about Gunther Steiner? I love him because he doesn't give up. What is it that you love about Gunther Steiner?
Look, I really love his energy, and I like I think the best way I could describe it is honesty. He's sort of the type of person, I mean, from Drive to Survive anyway, that he comes across as what you see is what you get. And that's something I personally value, that sort of the integrity, and just he says it how it is.
Are you Gunther Steiner in the team? I kind of see, essentially, as Ben said earlier on, each of you stay in your lane because that's your role. You're almost like your own team principal of your area. So who is the Gunther Steiner of the group? Who's the most honest?
Yeah, look, sometimes to a fault, I'd say I can be a bit honest with people. I know Ben and I had our fair share of disagreements, and Alex and I, even in the hotel room, at the competition, talking about how we were going to approach certain project elements. It got into a bit of a philosophical discussion, but as maybe narcissistic as it is, I'd have to nominate myself.
Okay, but the reason I asked that, it's not a silly question. It's understanding that you will have those disagreements as a team, but you work through them and you build from that. And as a team leader, Ben, I suppose you had to step in between Gunther Steiner and Alex, right?
Oh, well, I think they eventually solved it in the end. They were both obviously very passionate about the project. And I think that's what, after understanding that they're both looking at in terms of achieving the best possible outcome, we kind of were able to manage our difficulties, especially after working together for 3 years, kind of build those bonds and work out how to deal with people. So I think that was really valuable.
Yeah. See, everyone listening right now, it's not they're not a team of like perfection. There were moments where they were challenged, but that obviously led them to be as strong as they are. So listen, gentlemen, I just one final question, and I think I want to ask you, Ben, this. You're standing on the podium, your name gets announced by Crofty, you step onto that podium. What was going through your minds? I mean, we've seen that replayed so many times, the confetti's coming down, you have Hydron next to you, SBA Avidity from Scarborough, and then you step onto that number one spot. What went through your head, Ben?
Well, I think it was originally disbelief. We'd been working for so long on the project. And like I said, when we began the project, we never thought we could even make it to the World Finals. We were quite lucky in the awards ceremony to have been nominated for a number of awards and won a couple. So we were confident going into the podium, but coming first, I don't think was really a reality in anyone's mind until the words are announced. But I would say that probably was going to be the peak of many of our high school experiences, was hearing from Australia Hydron on the words that Crofty announced. So I think, it's a moment that we'll remember forever.
Well, I hope you cherish it for a long, long time. Final thoughts from any of you, because, the guys that are about to compete in Worlds, or they've got a national final coming up, or maybe even regionals, any final nuggets of advice that you would pass on?
Yeah, I just add on that thing about mistakes, and with Alice, if you, of course you're going to make mistakes. And I think it's really true that you actually want to be making mistakes. I think if you've got something right first try, chances are you probably haven't pushed yourself hard enough. If you take something at face value and say, it's good enough, I've got it right here. I think you can just challenge yourself to push it a bit harder. And it's the same thing with disagreements, right? Like a disagreement might seem like a setback ostensibly, but really what it's doing is it's two members of your teams pushing each other over a different strategy. And as long as you're all working towards that end goal of becoming champions, right? You stay unified over an overarching goal. Little disputes and mistakes along the way, I think, are actually only productive. And so it's important to keep that mindset, I think, even if things seem like they're taking ages or you just can't get the car right because things aren't clicking. It's actually good and you're on the right path. I think you just need to keep pushing and you'll get there eventually.
Well, what a perfect way to end this chat. Thank you so much, for being on the podcast, The Main Straight. I wish you all the best with whatever you do now, and I'm expecting your phones to be popping off from teams heading to Worlds, thinking maybe I'll just contact some team members from Team Hydron to get more advice. An absolute pleasure to have you on today.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
How good were Team Hydron on the episode? So good to chat to those guys, and as you can tell, still loving the fact that they are world champions and deserving world champions for that. Some great nuggets. Listen back and jot those down. That's what I would recommend. However, on this show, the stone keeps rolling. The F1 in School stone that gathers no moss. So I welcome back on now PDC, my producer, director, and co-host. It's Max Fernley to the show. How good were Team Hydron?
Hydron was brilliant. That was a really good insight to how the winning teams, their mentality is, how strong it is, and just pushing through those problems.
Yeah, to get
outweigh the troubles. Amazing to hear.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Well, listen, Max, I know that you're busy, and as I mentioned, the F1 in School stone gathers no moss because there must be some news from around the world. Would you like to share that news with everyone?
Of course, there's news. Last time we had an episode, it was April, obviously, the start of April. So the news was from March, but we were recording at the same time as the Australian National. So we never heard the results, but I have them. There's no problem. I have the results. So starting off with the professional class for Australian National Finals, we have first place Aurora from Trinity Grammar School, Phantom in second place from Brighton Grammar School, and Nexus in third place from Phoenix P12 Community College.
Congratulations to all of those guys. Successful competition, and well done for all of their hard efforts.
Yeah, definitely. And then we also have the development class that was successful at the Nationals, which was Acceleron from Alamanda College. Second is Convergence from Riverside High School. Third place, we have Xenon from Trinity Grammar School. So well done to all those teams. You've all worked so hard and you've done really well.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better myself there, Max, and some great team names there. I'm always fascinated by what team names will be announced each year. So some inspiration there for everyone. Any other news? We've ticked off Australia. Where do we go to next in the news?
I don't have the results, unfortunately, but last month we had the Shanghai National Final. So seen a few photos there. It looked like it was a really good event, and be nice to see them at Worlds, the teams that were successful.
Yeah, always good to chat to the teams from China, especially at Silverstone last year. Brilliant, guys. So is that it for the news today, Max?
We've got a few national finals next month, but obviously we won't hear the results from that until the next episode. So we have Poland's first ever national final in May. And
yeah, best of luck.
French national final.
Fantastic. So brilliant. Well, best of luck if any of the teams from Poland or France are listening. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to finding out about the results. Well, where does F1 in Schools take you to next then, Max?
Next up, we have London. So we're off down to Oxford for another regional, and then to Bristol, and then we're done. That's regionals in the UK over, and then it's back to preparing for the World Finals.
Which is going to be incredible, and I'm sure you've done a brilliant job at the regionals. Everyone would have met Max, recognise your face by now down at trackside. Max, brilliant stuff. Well done. Thank you very much for giving us the update on the news. Leaves me to just say thank you very much. We'll catch you at one of those regionals if you're coming along, and if not, we are building up towards the World Finals in Singapore. So please keep in touch with us on this podcast. It's so great to hear from you, and to do that, it's at F1 in Schools HQ. And until next time, take care and speak to you soon.